Welcome to Response-Able Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the Response-Able Parenting podcast. Let's get into it. Well, hello there, and welcome back to this very, very, very exciting episode. Why is this exciting, you might say? Because it's my 100th episode, and that is straight up blowing my mind. I am blown away. I honestly, it's like, that's crazy to me. I had started a podcast called Don't Send Flowers after my son passed away. And basically that was my podcast where I really kind of healed in real time. I interviewed guests that also had similar experiences with either stillbirth or infant loss. And then it progressed into people who had experienced suicide with a partner or loss of a family member or anything. And it just made me realize that we were all in the same boat, in the grief boat, and that we all had similar experiences, even though the moment was different. Our experiences, our feelings, our needs in the moment were all so similar. And yet that podcast really just had a time and place for me. I still think it's a beautiful podcast. It's called Don't Send Flowers. Basically, it was like, please stop sending flowers. Like, my son just died, and now I have to watch all of these flowers die too. Please just stop sending the flowers. But that was a really beautiful healing time for me. So it ended around, I want to say like 16 or 18 episodes. And then I remember recording one with somebody and I just never even posted it. Like, I just was like, I was full stop done with that. Just one day woke up like, never going to touch that podcast again. So admittedly, it was a wee bit hesitant to start a brand new podcast because I was like, what if I feel that same feeling of like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I have people relying on me, and what if it starts to feel like an obligation and I start to get resentful of it? I don't know if any of you follow human design, but I'm a manifesting generator. So yikes. With that comes like jumping from one passion to the next and being full blown, like throwing myself into something. And then the second I have like poured all of what I can into that, then I'm just like, oh, full stop, done. And I was very nervous that this would be the case for this. And yet, this podcast for me is like the juiciest, most accountable, I just feel like this is my moment to reflect and to grow and to keep my goals top of mind and to connect and share. And I just love it. So I'm thrilled that the Manny Jenny side of me has yet to be done with this podcast. And I don't see it stopping anytime soon because I just love being able to connect and talk. And, I've worked with some of you as my clients. So hi, if you're listening, and I love you. It's just been such a joy, such a pleasure. And I just really wanted to spend some time reflecting on the past 100 episodes. I mean, we have covered so much stuff. And it just kind of blows my mind, just the sheer volume of lessons and strategies and mindset shifts and everything. And it goes back to the core of what I teach. Like, it is fundamental as a parent to have an education of the brain and the body. It is fundamental to have an education on your child's nervous system, of their developmental milestones, of their capacity, of their abilities. It is just paramount. Because, as you've heard me talk about for 100 episodes, traditional parenting did not set us up to be aware of these things. Traditional parenting was, let's force these kids into blind obedience and compliance. And there was actually a reason for that. And I look at everything as like there was a time and a place and a reason for that. While it might not have been a great reason or a moral reason or a smart reason for that matter, there was still a reason. And traditional parenting, blind obedience, compliance, that was absolutely necessary for a specific time period when children needed to go work at a factory and they needed to help bring in money for the family, when they needed to be left at home at 5 years old to take care of a sibling because their parents had to work to put food on the table. This was essential because at a very, very, very young age, children were actually required to bring in income, be supportive of the household in a way that kept the house from falling apart, had to be a part of a farm, had to go to a factory, and ultimately, many of them had to go into the military. So, order, compliance, obedience, they had to be trained in that way. And yet, as the world shifted, as we morphed and we changed, our parenting styles did not. So we were constantly butting up against the system, the strategy, the belief, the firm ingrained process that was stuck in our nervous systems and passed down from generation to generation, even though the world was progressing, even though the world was moving ahead at lightning speed, parenting was stuck back in the time when a child needed to go work on the farm, in the factory, or go to war. It's very different now, and yet we have not upgraded our software systems, right? We are still working on basic HTML coding that is just not serving us as parents now. Because now we are looking at things totally differently, yet the coding is still the same in our bodies. So if you hit Control Alt Delete on our bodies, we're still going back to that old methodology that is just not serving us and is just not current in today's world. Just like everything progresses, just like everything continues to evolve, we aren't looking at parenting with that same evolutionary mindset. We're still looking at this from a compliance lens, an obedience lens, a traditional lens, even though that doesn't match the time. And so, over the past 100 episodes, I've really spent a lot of time breaking down these thought processes, these barriers to parenting in today's world. I've talked about obedience and respect and rules and boundaries. I've talked about, communication style. I've talked about blocks and triggers and patterns and belief systems. I mean, the list is crazy. And I was thinking about it the other day, and it has been, for me personally, an incredible transformation of mindset. Because as I sit here in the podcasting seat, I don't want you to take for a second, don't think for a second that I am not still struggling in the same areas that you might feel like you're completely alone in. I still struggle with being triggered on a regular basis. I still find myself yelling to gain compliance in a moment, even though I know strategies that are better. So I am no different, but yet every single time I sit down here at the podcasting seat, it is my time to be accountable, to own up to mistakes, to grow and reflect on those mistakes, to learn and to practice. And that ultimately is how we evolve and how we meet the needs of the time and how we meet the needs of our children in the moment is by first educating ourselves. Like, let's get educated on what is required of our children in today's society. Yes, they might not be going to a factory. Yes, they might not be going to war, but we have so many other things in this day and age that are impacting them, that are affecting them, not just their physical health, but their emotional and their mental stability. right? We need to be aware of those and not cast those things off and not think of them and prioritize them, because those are hugely impactful for our children today. And if we are looking at them from the traditional parenting lens, we're going to miss that moment. It's 2025, and there is more parenting advice than ever before. Yet we're still confused, stuck, and defaulting back to the way our parents raised us in the 80s and 90s. Parenting has evolved since then, and it's time your strategies do too. Welcome to the Responsible Parenting community. This is where you get the support you're looking for so you can make fast, positive, and long-term change in your household. Inside my community, you get access to my signature course, S.T.U.C.K, your emotional regulation roadmap to raising ADHD and strong-willed kids. You have my Fast Way to Regulate challenge, giving you 30 days of nervous system work to completely rewire how you react to the stress of parenting. On top of that, you have weekly opportunities to connect with me and get personalized support on issues that challenged you that week. You also have quarterly workshops, bite-sized mini lessons to keep you motivated, and everything I add for as long as you're a member. This is your place to filter out all the noise and get practical strategies that work. Join the community today and start feeling relief as early as tonight. So this is an opportunity for us to evolve. And as we evolve, we are going to be triggered like crazy. Because anytime we're moving from one area to the next, when we're growing our capacity, we're going to hit an uncomfortable edge, right? Lacey Phillips, who is the founder of To Be Magnetic, she says that when you hit your growth edge, it's like that moment in yoga where you're stretching. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't stretch any further. And then you breathe into that moment and you find your muscle able to relax, and you actually find a new stretching point. You find that new growth edge, and you're able to actually push further than you thought possible. That's what evolution is. But as you evolve, you're going to be sent bazillions of triggers, because you're just going to be tested. Like, are you still going to stay in this traditional mindset? Are you still going to parent the way that you are parenting? Are you sure you want to up level? Right? You're going to be tested. And it's every single time that we experience that test and that trigger, it is an opportunity for us to explore and get curious, just as we do with our children, right? When they are repeatedly having a challenge in a specific area, when we are experiencing the same sibling fight, when we are experiencing the same challenge in transitions, when we are experiencing the same battles at bedtime, as opposed to using the traditional approach and forcing compliance and, coming down extra hard on them to make sure it's more convenient for us in the moment temporarily, we get to get curious and figure out, what is it about this that is making it so hard for my child? What is it about this that makes them feel scared, lonely? What is it about this that makes them go into a full-blown panic and meltdown? Right? But as we hit our parental growth edges, we get to do the same for ourselves. We get to say, what is it about this moment with my child that makes me want to pop off so hard? Which makes me want to force them to comply, which makes me want to go back to punishments and threats and yelling and all of that stuff. What is it about that? And then when we start to uncover our triggers, uncover our patterns, and we start to actually do the necessary internal work to heal that so they don't continuously pop up in our daily lives, we get to create beautiful systems of support that allow us to be able to move through these things without that fear and panic telling us, fix it, fix it. Oh my God, if you don't fix it right now, they're gonna become spoiled brats. If you don't fix it right now, oh my gosh, what are they gonna be like when they're teenagers? Right? We get to say, hello, fear. Thank you so much for joining this conversation again. I notice that every single time I start to do something past my current skill level, you always pop up and you always tell me to go back to my lower level of skills. But I don't need you anymore. I'm going to move past that lower level of skills. I'm going to say, thank you so much for joining this conversation, Fear, but I don't need you right now. I don't need to fix this moment. What I need to do is continue to get curious, continue to explore, continue to practice these skills and systems. Because the more I practice, the more I stay accountable, the more this is just going to be my default pattern, my new growth edge. And then your children become preteens and you have to hit a new growth edge. And then they become teenagers and you hit a new growth edge. And then they move out and you hit a new growth edge. But the whole process remains the same of educating yourself, finding out that new comfortability where your window of tolerance is being pushed. So you just get to create new systems and strategies to support your nervous system, to increase your capacity to move past your growth edge. And the more we stay consistent in this, we actually rewire our brain. We heal our inner child, those wounds, and we are able to be present in the moment with our children. We're able to enjoy and be with and just model to them the ups and downs of life and how we can process them in a healthy way. And this podcast is all of that. It's the tough, it's the tougher, and it's the celebrations, and it's the messy middle. And it's really just that rinse and repeat, the education, the exploration of my triggers, the systems and the strategies and the practice and the showing up and the accountability. And over these 100 episodes, I have watched my brain completely rewire. I have watched my reactivity shift dramatically towards my children. I have watched my nervous system heal. I have watched my default patterns shift. And now I have just such an incredible trust in this process that it flows so much more smoothly. Like I'm not stuck all the time in this reactivity. I mean, honestly, the reason I started this from the jump is because I was hyper reactive all the time. I was just like a hairpin trigger. Just I was basically a mousetrap all the time, just constantly going off. And it felt awful to me, and I know it was completely destructive to my children, and I knew there had to be a better way. So I started this, and I invited you to listen, and I invited you to learn alongside of me. And this has just been a journey of a lifetime, and I'm thrilled that you have joined me here. It just blows my mind. It touches my heart. I'm pretty overwhelmed by the whole thing, but I'm so grateful at the end because it has just been one of the most magnetic things and one of the most joyful things I have really ever created. And I go back when I'm in a sticky place and I listen to my episodes and I'm like, Becky, that was your goal. That was your goal. Like, this is your path. You don't need to fall back onto those old things. You need to trust yourself. This has been a journey of self-discovery, a journey of trusting myself, of letting go of so many limiting beliefs, just patterns that I thought I could never get unstuck from. And it's been beautiful. And I can't even believe people have shown up and listened. I'm stunned. Obviously, I'm rambling because I'm stunned. Um, but I am just thrilled to have this community, have you here. Um, and I just want to say a humongous thank you for being with me for 100 flippin' episodes. It's crazy. So thank you so much for being here. And if you want to engage further, please just don't hesitate to reach out. Like, I am truly an open book. I am just like you. I have a direct message in my Instagram that I'll send you voice notes. I'll talk to you. Like, I'm just a regular old human doing the same old stuff that you're doing, showering when I can, making all the food for all the people. And, this is something that allows me to talk to humans, adult humans that have adult language skills, and where we can actually go deeper and we can actually grow together. It's just such a joy, a privilege, and an honor. And I just invite you to so much more. And thank you, like a huge, huge thank you. And I guess that's what I want to say. Just Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I couldn't be happier, and I cannot wait to see you next week. All right. Goodbye, my friend. Thank you for listening to the Responsible Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.